Mike O'Donnell was the quintessential All-American high school kid, star of the basketball team, a scholarship on the horizon, a gorgeous girlfriend, and, of course, confidence to spare. Then, in the middle of a crucial game, his girlfriend Scarlett drops a bombshell: she's pregnant. And what does he do? He walks away from it all to be with her. Cue the curtain, fast forward a few years, and now in the present day, Mike is crashing at his rich and geeky friend Ned's place after his now ex-wife Scarlett kicked him out. At breakfast, Ned noisily chomps on Captain Crunch, while Mike sees just a glimmer of hope in the form of a promotion at work. But, surprise! That promotion goes to Wendy, the new bee. And to add insult to injury, his boss tells him he's too valuable to be promoted. Ouch, talk about a slap in the face. Down in the dumps, Mike revisits his old high school, reminiscing about his former glory and pondering all the what-ifs. Enter the mysterious janitor, your classic spiritual guide figure, who asks Mike if he would do it all again. Filled with regret, Mike says yes. After the janitor pulls a Houdini and disappears, Mike shares a less than heartwarming family moment with his kids, Alex and Maggie, who pretty much ignore him. Meanwhile, Scarlett is literally trashing his belongings in the front yard. With the divorce just 2 weeks away from being finalized, she accuses Mike of spending his entire life complaining about his choices. It becomes painfully clear to Mike that his life is, quite literally, in the gutter. Then, in a Back to the Future-style storm, Mike spots the janitor again. After a trippy experience, he wakes up, young. He's 17 again, and, predictably, when he tries to tell Ned, Ned doesn't recognize him and attacks him with, wait for it, his collection of medieval weapons, because of course he has those. When Ned finally figures out that this teenager is actually his old buddy Mike, he starts throwing out comic book theories, until Mike realizes that the janitor must have given him this second chance. So Ned, who swore he'd never go back to school, ends up becoming Mike's dad and enrolling him. There's a cringy moment where Ned practically melts into a puddle when he meets the principal, Jane, but his attempts to flirt fall flat, impressing exactly no one but himself. Mike struggles to adjust to the new old high school scene, but hey, at least he's got a shiny new Audi to ease the transition. He starts getting close to his son Alex, who, as it turns out, is at the bottom of the school's social ladder and constantly bullied by Maggie's jerk of a boyfriend, Stan. In classic overprotective dad fashion, even in a teenage body, Mike tries to school Stan on the perils of bullying but hilariously ends up sounding like an overly concerned dad. The cherry on top is when Mike calls out Stan's insecurities in front of the whole cafeteria, cue awkward silence. Despite the mishaps, Mike decides his mission is to put his kids on the right path. He trains Alex for the basketball team and even helps Scarlett with a garden renovation. There's an undeniable spark between them, with Mike playing the nostalgia card by blasting their wedding song and even sharing a dance with her. The romantic moment gets interrupted by their son, but the tension is unmistakable. The fact that Mike is sort of flirting with his ex-wife without her knowing it's him makes the whole thing even weirder. If you've ever seen 13 Going on 30, you'll get the whole I'm young again and I'm going to fix everything vibe mixed with a lot of sentimental nostalgia. Matthew Perry, known for his role as Chandler in Friends, plays the older Mike, while teen heartthrob Zac Efron of High School Musical fame takes on the role of young Mike. And if I were Mike, I'd definitely avoid flirting with Scarlett while looking like a teenager. That's not great for sanity or keeping the timeline intact. But I would try to bond with my kids without seeming like a weirdo who's too young to be their dad. Anyway, Mike figures the best way to keep Maggie out of trouble is to call in trusty Alex. They meet up at a party, and, in typical awkward fashion, Mike encourages Alex to talk to his crush, Nicole. Full of confidence, or not, Alex compares her to his dog. The problem? The dog's dead. After some awkward apologies and a pair of flaming jeans, Alex makes the kind of shameful exit that's straight out of a rom-com. Meanwhile, Mike brushes off some girl's advances with a lecture on self-respect, only for one to reply, "I don't even expect you to remember my name," leaving him speechless. At the party, Mike finally catches up with Maggie, and after sizing up Stan's douchiness, he hints that she deserves better. That's when Maggie drops a bombshell of her own. She's going to community college, not Georgetown, and she wants to move in with Mike after graduation. Cue Mike, in full 50s dad mode, forbidding her from seeing Stan. "Who do you think you are?" Maggie fires back before storming off. Alex arrives right after, still smelling like burned denim from his earlier incident. When the big game rolls around, Mike does the unthinkable. Instead of passing the ball to Stan, he gives it to Alex, who scores the game-winning point. Stan, furious, can only watch as Alex gets a congratulatory hug, albeit an awkward one, from Nicole. Ned, meanwhile, is still in full pursuit of Jane, finally scoring a date after promising to dial back the absurd gifts and over-the-top flattery. As Pretty Woman taught us, money can't buy everything, not even laptops for the whole school. The night of Mike's big party, things take a turn for the worse. Heartbroken after Stan dumps her, Maggie finds herself falling for, you guessed it, Mike. He tries to comfort her with a fatherly speech about finding your soulmate, but things get real weird, real fast. Maggie, clearly having a Freud moment, starts crushing on the young Mike, and things get uncomfortable. Meanwhile, Ned and Jane bond over, you're not gonna believe this, speaking Elvish. Who knew Tolkien could be the ultimate nerdy love language? As all this unfolds, Maggie rejects Stan and says she's got someone else. Mike tries to punch Stan, but instead gets his butt kicked. He wakes up in Maggie's lap, and she realizes Mike fought Stan because he likes her. Peak cringe. Chaos hits its highest point when Scarlett shows up at the party, and in a brilliant moment of post-adolescent flirting, Mike kisses her and gets slapped for his trouble. And it doesn't stop there. Maggie and her friends take turns slapping Mike, thinking he's a perv. Scarlett, unsure what to believe, storms off in a rage. After a dinner that ends with Mike and Ned slapping each other like true buddies, they prepare for court the next day. At the courthouse, in a telenovela-worthy moment, Mike reads a love letter that's really just the address of the courtroom. But Scarlett starts to suspect something. After all, young Mike looks an awful lot like Mike circa 1989. The big climax comes during the final basketball game, with Scarlett cheering from the stands. Mike, playing with all the nostalgia in the world, pulls off a move that only he could have made in 1989. Scarlett sees it and finally pieces it all together. This teenager is Mike. He ditches the game to chase after her, proving that even with a chance to relive his youth, he'd never change his decision to be with her. It's a rom-com ending where true love triumphs over a midlife crisis in a teenage body. So, if you ever find yourself 17 again, please, don't fall in love with your own daughter, that's just weird. Anyway, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video, which you can click on right here on your screen.
And I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect.